All right, let's get a little Q&A in here, and I'm a little congested, as you can hear, so forgive me. I'm a tad bit under the weather here. First, typical question I get so often: Culture Thug, what do you think about drinking? Because people will come across this little rant channel and like, oh my God, look at all these drunken rants. This guy's a raging alcoholic. So I often get this question, and I've gone more into detail in older videos about this, in older drunken Q&As or rants or whatever. So I'll try to keep this one quick. Basically, I think it's up to each individual to decide themselves. I think, like most things in this society, one of the biggest problems in people is their lack of self awareness. So you need to know who you are and have control over yourself when it comes to issues of drinking or whatever else. And like as for me, I don't wait on certain days. Like I've decided that I enjoy drinking in certain moments, and be they watching UFC with my brothers and friends, be they at a either social gathering, dinner with the extended family or friends, etc., like that, or be it with a glass of wine with dinner. So it's like these moments I've said, yes, it's fine. I'm going to drink and I enjoy it. Now, these moments can come whenever. It's like, when's the last time I had a drink? Was the last drunken rant? When's the next time I'm going to have a drink? Next Saturday at UFC event. So it's there's no there's no set like, oh, I wait to the weekend to drink or anything like this. It's just you have to know yourself. Now, what if first you're like, well, I only drink once a week too, but I cheat on my wife every time I drink, or every time I drink I become an angry drunk, or every time I drink I get too drunk and I drive home from a long distance, and setting myself up for failure or setting myself up to hurt someone else. It's like, well, these are issues. You have to know yourself. Like, if these are weaknesses of yours, then maybe you can't do that. So I think a lot of it comes down to self knowledge and not lying to yourself. And I'm in the habit of, even if like I notice I'm doing something every day, I'll stop it and go cold turkey for however long I'm satisfied that I've proved to myself that I own myself. So I think that's something people need to be aware of. It's very individual is what I think about drinking. You need to make up your mind. I know functioning alcoholics that drink every fucking day after work, and they're fine. But of course, they're not fine in the long term. I'd never encourage that, and I do try to disencourage it with the people I know in my life that are like that. But I see them maintaining like that. And I see people that hardly drink, but when they do drink, they make complete fucking assholes out of themselves, or they get sloppy drunk, and you got to carry them home and all this shit. So yeah, you got to know yourself. You got to know your own limits. That's what it comes down to. Like I've explained before, I've gone the Puritan route for years, and that wasn't me. I grew up the hedonist, individualistic, nihilistic route, like most Americans do. That wasn't me. I found my ethics and Aristotle's belief in virtue and the mean. That's where I found mine. So that's what I'm a supporter of. So to each their own on that. You just have to know yourself. Don't lie to yourself, and know who you are, know your weaknesses. And if drinking feeds into one of those weaknesses too much and too frequently, then it's a problem. Then maybe you shouldn't be doing that. But if not, then yeah, enjoy yourself. All right. You often talk about how America isn't capable of a route towards ethno nationalism, and that the only practical pathway for the United States towards fascism will be through civic nationalism. So I'm curious how you would respond to biology, the root, culture, the flower. Do you disagree or agree with that statement? If you agree, what makes you so confident that we can form a civic nationalist society that isn't incohesive and splintered with separate subcultures, class conflicts, and racial tensions? So, the first part of the question, biology, the root, culture, the flower. I would say, yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't see how you can even argue against it, or why people would argue against that. But I would go even further and say biology, the root, surrounding environment, the stem, culture, the flower. Nature and nurture do play their role for sure. So, but yes, that's completely true. I don't see how people discount that or try to. So what makes you confident with that being a reality? With yes, culture does come from race. How would we first, if we're talking third position philosophy, we get rid of the class conflict already. I mean, that's already a thing destroyed. And now you talk about subcultures. So I guess when I speak on civic nationalism, I'm using the wrong term. I need to use a different term. Maybe cultural nationalism is a better one, because too often I say that and then I get tied into, oh, you just think it's a social contract and anyone can come here and is being American is just a contract sign. No, that's fucking ridiculous. I don't believe that at all, and I wouldn't even fucking want to try to enforce that. What the fuck would be the point? I guess I believe more of a cultural nationalist. I might have to do a video on the Cultured Thug account, even though I don't want to put too much my personal opinion on that page. I might have to for this topic because I think I misspoke or I think I was misinterpreted, and I get a lot of people with the civic nationalist thing like, oh, how could you believe if you're a race realist? How could you believe just a social contract makes an American? I guess what I try to refer to is kind of a Roman Empire and even Ottoman Empire kind of model where you have a dominant culture and you're going to have natural subcultures underneath of that. How do I think they'll exist? They'll exist fine. Let me use the example of prison. I'll be a little anecdotal with you guys. And so you go into prison, there's natural segregation. And there's rules amongst all the groups and all of this, and there's not this hostility constantly at each other because there's this natural segregation and because there's dealing with each other when you need to deal with each other, whether it's for criminal activities or business or whatever, right? So, and then you have the oversight, which is the warden and all of this. So it's very doable. People will naturally, in large part, not everyone, of course not, but in large part, people naturally self-segregate. There's no reason for racial tensions because of that. It's, once again, if a society is built on merit, and then you're saying, well, oh, what if, I can already see the argument, what if said race is not able to get into a lot of fields because through merit they can't do that, and then there'll be hostility and bitching and all this stuff. Well, if you're in a society that had already agreed on this fascistic platform, and you're already, raising kids, or especially young boys, to be more masculine and to have a more masculine identity and to have greater goals in life, do you think when a society is functioning like that on that level and heading towards that direction that you wouldn't squash something that's frivolous and complaining and not deserving of what they're whining for? Do you think like today people would put up with that? No. When you have something much more powerful fueling you, you're willing to do a lot more for it. So it's, I think, and I understand, I take a pragmatic, I always say this is more, I'm going for more pragmatism than anything else because, I want to see change. I understand what we're up against and, I've come to my conclusions on how to deal with it. So, or at least our ways forward. And that being one of them, there's nothing wrong. We can be different and have common destiny shared through America for sure. And we can remain our different selves. And we can have true education. We can have race education. And no one needs to feel slighted for it. So Africans evolved in a different way Europeans did. So fucking what? So fucking what? Let's keep diversity alive. Every groups of people have their pros and cons. And we can use their pros as strengths. And we can help each other at our cons, at our weakest parts. So if Europeans are better at architecture than other races, then guess what? A lot of Europeans will be building stuff and everyone can enjoy a profit from it. So, or if Asians are better at math, whatever stereotypes, then good. It's like we can benefit from that. I'm firmly convinced simply through education, control of oversight of media, control of the doctrine that's being preached, we can have our cake and eat it too. People can become race realists and not hate each other for being different or not be envious of each other. This is what third position philosophy preaches. This is why it looks for the middle ground between the poor and the rich. So I think all that can be taken care of. And since we're speaking hypothetical, what if, these racial tensions, all this shit. Once again, when you have a strong masculine society, why are we going to put up with any of this shit? People will have the stomach more so to do things they aren't willing to do today. So, yeah, I think that is the best way forward for sure. I think only through populism are we going to be able to get anything going in this country. I think we saw that. There's some more questions digging on this, so I won't go too much into this right now. But yeah, biology is the root, culture is the flower. Biology, root, environment, stem, culture, flower, I'd say. And now, keeping on the ethno nationalism topic, why do you think that ethno nationalism could work in Europe but not in America? I understand why you think that in America it wouldn't work, but why would it work in Europe? Hmm. Well, when we look at the ability to achieve homogeneity, we see the more commonality people have, the better the chances and the stronger their homogeneity. So, take for America, the situation we're in, we have, 60-40% in this country, 60% white, and you have, and then, whites even, American whites are mainly a hodgepodge thing of many different European subraces put in. Now, so it's already hard enough to get that kind of homogeneity. So we can pull out the lens a little bit, and we have nationalism, and we build on that. You bring the lens in, we have race. Bring the lens in a little more, we have ethnicity. Now, in Europe, in most cases, there's still over 90% in most European countries of not a specific race, a specific subrace, ethnicity. So you have the shared culture. Most of them have this shared religion as well. These are two strong binding factors on top of binding, like I said, not even race, even more to the detail, the ethnicity. So this on paper says you have a chance to achieve your desired ethnic state. But the question is, do the people have the will? Like, I don't know. I'm not on the ground in Europe. Only thing I know is what I see on the news and what I hear from Europeans I speak to online. That's it. So on paper, they have all the ability in the world, more so than anyone else, because they are largely still countries built around ethnicities, and that is changing within this generation. If it goes the same way, they're going to be where we're at, or probably far worse. And I don't know, but it's looking like France and England are already they're going pretty fast. So I think it's. But with all that said, I don't think any of that is doable as long as America remains the spear tip for globalism. This is why I think more so than anywhere else, it matters what happens in this country. If a true nationalistic, fascistic kind of politics came into play and was able to get power, that would free up the world to make their own decisions. It would take the world away from the global influence of Hollywood and the IMF and all the other usual suspects. So do the Europeans have the will for that still, is the only question. As a people, I know groups of them do, but as a people as a whole. So yeah, I think it's a lot more doable. I think it needs to happen. If it doesn't, Europeans will be genetically wiped off the face of the earth within a couple hundred years. I would say so, because there's never been any other moment like this where you can transplant people who are so different so quickly to such different parts of the world. And it's especially when you have the host race of people, very low birth rates, very ashamed of their past, ashamed of themselves, just all the psychological damage on top of physically implanting people. Yeah, it's not good. So it needs to change. We want to keep diversity alive on this earth. And so much good has come from the Europeans that to bleed these people out through sperm or bullets is just, it makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense. So yeah, I think it's doable. I think it's on America to get out of everyone's business. So hopefully they can have the means to do that and win their own selves. But yeah, I think it's because they have the better chance on paper. Ethnicity, common religion, common culture, and they still have 9/10 out of the people in Germany are German still. So they have a lot going for them right now, but they're quickly reaching that precipice. How can the general American populace, the silent majority, get on board with fascist populist movement if all they know is mainstream boomer conservatism? I think there is a possibility for the movement. Oh no, I think there's a possibility for a real nationalist populist movement in America. However, I don't think it will necessarily be a fascist movement. I just don't see the silent majority advocating a corporatist or syndicalist system in America, especially since only a small amount of people know what these systems are. Yeah, so well, first, how will it happen with the mainstream boomer conservatives? Well, how did Trump happen with them? Same thing, and Trump is on some fascistic tones, as we know. So, how did he happen? Well, first you had this radical group that was right behind him from the beginning. Then, and I watched this with my own family. My own family, most of them are like conservatives, conservatives essentially. And my father, I remember, bless his soul, he's as stoic as they come, and grizzled vet, and just stoic as they come. Like, we didn't know he battled and dealt with cancer years ago, but he wouldn't even tell us till we saw a fucking softball on his neck. We're like, what the fuck is that, Dad? And then we found out. Like, he's real old school like that. As stoic and hard as he is, he was going for Jeb Bush. Like, are you fucking crazy? And so I watched that with the people in my family. They went Jeb Bush, then they'd go Ted Cruz was next. Then they eventually had to settle for Trump because guess what? It was Trump or Hillary. So it was it's going to be the same way. And just as Trump was pre-fascism essentially, the next people will be closer towards fascism, and they're going to, how did fascism come up all the time? It's always as a reaction against the left, and eventually these conservative types are going to have to jump on board with it because they're going to see there's nothing else fighting the left, and they're getting a full dose of that now. This Trump thing is working out great because they're seeing how politicized the government is and the different branches of government, and how you can't get a fucking thing done because of that, and how they're knocking each other out at the knees every time Trump's trying to do something. You have the judges shooting this down, or the states fighting against this, and then they're suing this, and they're suing this. People are seeing how fucking ineffective this stupid ass system is. And the more and more they see that, it works better for us. It works better for more fascistic minded people. So this is all leading people to make decisions they would have never made before. Trump is your first biggest, and it just blew the door open. It opened the fucking door for everything else. And I keep saying that, and it's our fault if we don't seize upon that. This opened the door. People are sick of politics as usual. And you say, well, they only understand capitalism. Yeah, because when have they been sold anything else properly? When? They don't even know what like you said, they don't even know what it is. So if you explained it, so if I'm running on a platform and I say, I want to nationalize healthcare and education, and you're like, well, what does that mean? And it's like, you're socializing it. It's like, no, I'm not socializing it. I'm nationalizing it. You can't get any of these benefits unless you contribute to the society. Then on top of that, what working class person is going to argue with that? They're already paying taxes into a system. So just look how these muddlers work. Look how the middleman works. Look at your glorious capitalism. Look how this shit works. So you have your hospital and you have your school. And the conservative right now is like, yeah, we should pay for insurance to have our hospital, our health problems taken care of, or we should take student loans to pay for college and all this stupidity, right? They think that's part of the freedom, but they're just paying middlemen. So imagine you're already paying taxes. So imagine, okay, you got to pay a little more taxes. Instead of paying the insurance, it all goes to the same way, but your health is completely covered. So these people still pay insurance and they still go in debt fighting cancer and all this shit. It happens over and over and over again in this country. Same thing with education. You have kids going to school and they're sending their own children in debt who are desiring their education. Who's going to continue on the society, right? You should be wanting to get the best out of the kids if you gave a fuck about the future of your society, right? You shouldn't be forcing people to go in debt to seek education. So once again, instead of paying into the state, they're taking loans that they're paying interest on and all this stuff. So cut out the middleman. Cut out the middleman. If it goes right to the heart of the system, it's much easier. You cut out all the inflation and you get proper care taken care of you. And you don't have a parasitic Wall Street class and welfare class. Both of them are eradicated. They don't exist. Oh, sorry, you're not contributing to the system in one way or another. You're not getting shit. Fuck you. Die on the street. Or no, you won't die on the street. We'll shovel you off somewhere so we don't have to look at you. So, and you build, when you build this community, you create this us, and this us is more likely to say fuck them instead of how we are now, where we're like, oh, let's put all of them on our back until we all fucking sink into the mud. No. So it's not been explained right, and what sane person would go against that? What sane person would say, no, fuck that. I want my kids to go in debt because they want an education. No, fuck that. I want to lose my house because I'm fighting cancer and I still pay all this money a month on my insurance. What sane person would do that? They've been sold this bill of goods. It's been nonstop in their head. Boom, 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 boom. Hollywood, education system, universities, government, nonstop. I bring that up in one of my videos. I'm like, there's no voice for fascists out there. There's no one advocating third position politics anywhere out there. So yeah, it hasn't been sold right to these people. And what sane person would walk away from that? What sane person would walk away from the idea of a community? What sane person would walk away from the idea of trying to achieve and conquer more in our one life we have on this earth and continuing that path to our children? Yeah, it hasn't been presented right to these people. And once again, I understand a lot of what I'm going to say is anecdotal from my own experience, but when it is presented in a more clear method, I don't see too many people arguing against it. I really don't. And this is why, they'll suppress the shit out of any kind of third position philosophy, because it is easy to catch fire. And it's already starting. You had these conservatives voting for Trump. You had these capitalists voting for Trump. I see Stefan still defending Trump and tariffs and all this shit. When a few years ago he'd be like, oh my God, that's so horrible. It's interfering with the free market. These people are making cognitive dissonant moves to accept these things that they have to. They're going to have no choice. Neither will the boomer conservatives. Neither will anyone else that wouldn't be completely on page with it. If it gains success, if it shows strength, and once again, not even called fascism. I'm an advocate of, and I'll get into this later, of running under independent or Republican and with fascistic principles. And that will catch fire every time. We saw it happening when we'll talk about Huey Long a little bit later too in the questions, but we saw that happen with him in America too early on. So yeah, it's because fascism is the only true reaction that stands up to this sick leftism going on, and because it just makes sense. It's so much better in capitalism. They just, once again, they equate nationalism with socialism. They equate any form of collectivism with a loss of all individualism. They've been sold this bill of goods, so it's our job to clarify and to explain what it really is, what third position philosophy really is to these people. All right. I'm not sure I agree with this dichotomy you've set up, where one side is an idealistic National Socialist who is trying to find meaning in life while waiting for some major event that may or may not happen. And on the other side, there's a pragmatic fascist. I don't know if I set up this dichotomy, but okay, who is willing to dilute his ideals for the sake of gaining popular support. Considering anti-nihilism and anti-materialism such a part is a part of your philosophy, it seems hypocritical to denounce traditionalist views of degeneration and cyclical time. I don't denounce traditionalist views of degeneration. I'm a belief man, society, everything's on a downward spiral. Cyclical time, sure. I have spoken against that, the concept of it. Waiting for the golden age. In favor of purely materialistic ideology that appeals entirely to a person's self-interest. What? Traditionalist views of degeneration and cyclical time. In favor of purely materialistic ideology that appeals entirely to a person's self-interest. I don't advocate that at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I see the point you're trying to make when you make this dichotomy. You're not seeing the point, because that's not a dichotomy I'm trying to make. But it seems unnecessary. Many religions have been able to maintain both esoteric and exoteric branches. So it'd be very easy to maintain far out ideals. Yeah, that's fine. That's great. While still trying to gain popular support. Well, no. Because if you want populism, you can't be too far out. That wouldn't make it populism. It's simply a matter of saying the right thing to the right person. Furthermore, what makes you think that the populist movement stands a better chance than waiting for a cataclysm? Waiting for a cataclysm. That statement in itself says, I can't even answer to that. If people want to wait, go fucking wait. When Hitler took power, the economy was in shambles and it seemed like the communists were preparing to take over. When Napoleon took power, France was in the middle of complete turmoil. Caesar took power in the memory of the civil war between Sulla and Marius. It was still fresh in people's minds. Something all these people have in common is that they couldn't create the conditions to take power. They simply lucked into it due to destabilization by the other forces. Whoa, that is like your perception. You just tied your perception as historical fact right there. Well, let's go deconstruct those. But in contrast, look at the Romanian Iron Guard. They had major populist appeal and foreign support. They didn't have major populist appeal. I think the best they did while Caggiano was there was 15%, 13%, somewhere in between there. That's not major populist support. And then they got in through Antonescu, and then talk about foreign support. Then Hitler helped Antonescu crush the Iron Guard. So no, that's not even half accurate. But they had major populist appeal. But even with all this, they lost. They actually got, like I said, Antonescu helped them get into power, and then they started squabbling with each other, and then Hitler backed Antonescu. And, goodbye, Iron Guard. It seems that a bourgeois person will vote for the biggest capitalist rather than the class cooperation candidate. Likewise, it seems the proletariat will vote for the biggest capitalist rather than the class corporation. The only time class corporation candidate seems... All right, there's a lot here. Let's get to first what you're talking about here. Yeah, look. I am where I am, and I believe what I believe through... my experiences, my life. It's been damn near 20 years since I've been red-pilled, okay? And I've been through this in numerous other rants. Things I've done and experienced and different avenues I've taken in my youth to try to promote ideologies I believed in. So where I'm at right now, as an individual, I'll give you my opinion, and I'll rant about some shit sometimes, and I'll rant about some behaviors and things that really piss me off. And I'll get into that stuff, but I'm not telling you, like, if you want to wait for cataclysm, if you think, oh my God, like, I advocate, don't ride the tiger, be the tiger. We need to create the change. But if you say, hey, we're going to ride the tiger because that's all we can do, that's fine. If you say, I'm going to join this internet party because, this is the best way forward, that's fine. If you say, I'm going to be a white nationalist because this is the best way forward, that's fine. Go do your path. Go do your path. Maybe one of these roads will lead to that finish line. The road I'm going down, the road I've come to, my understanding, where I'm at after 20 years of this, is I have like 2 idealistic kind of hopes and 1 bitter pill most likely going to happen in reality. And the 2 idealistic ones are within, next 5-6 years, whenever, a summit is formed of true third position thinkers. And in this summit, we hammer out our beliefs and how we're moving forward. And then we move forward. Don't need to create a party, but run for political positions in all these states on the same message. Promote that. I understand that's idealistic. My second idealistic kind of hope is that a true leader comes around. Someone worth following. There's no one worth following as far as I'm concerned right now, which is going to lead me to my third pessimistic, not pessimistic, but bitter pill, most likely reality. But there's no leaders around today. No one I would follow. So, someone like that came around, then I could definitely jump behind that, support whatever that party was, that scene. If I saw the things in that person that I deemed were true of a leader. That's most likely not going to happen. So what's most likely going to happen, which I really, really, really don't want to fucking do, but I'm really, really going to have to do, is, when you can't find someone, a leader worth following, you have to be your own leader and follow yourself. So I'm going to end up running for local positions. I don't know how small I'm going to start. I haven't even started dissecting it yet. I still have things I need to accomplish before I even get there. So it's, as those are checked off, as I'm going to hear, I definitely have time. And all that can change. What if something changes in the scene? Like, oh shit, I'm not prepared, but I need to start running because people are really, really, really ready for this right now. And you can see it here and here and here. These independent politicians are catching the wave, and I need to jump on it. So that can always change. But that's most likely the road I'm going to head down is running for local positions and on a third position philosophy. And I could become fucking made a joke of in the media, an anti-Semite and racist and fascist and authoritarian, all this shit. Or I could not even make a fucking blip. Have no money or no nothing. There was a dude running around here years ago who put all his signs up with, magic marker and cheap, fucking paper he bought. It's like, I might be that dude. No fucking money, no support, not even make a blip on the radar. I think I will make a blip because how I intend, one of the methods, if I'm running for local areas, what I was going to do is print out like a 10,000 3-page letters, kind of getting ahead of the stuff they're going to hit me on, white nationalist activism pass, statements on Jews, ex-felon, all this stuff, getting ahead of that, and then explain a little third position, kind of put that on everyone's door in my zone area, so at least they get a little bit of that, then a website where they can look at everything. So I think that alone, someone calling me, oh my God, this fascist, and that, that's always, low-hanging fruit for them, so they'll jump on it. So anyways, that's where I'm at, all right? These are the 3 things I'm looking at in the future is the way to go. There's these 2 idealistic hopes that they come true, and I think they would be much better. Then there's the one like, fuck, this is probably what it's going to be, and you know what? It could fail. What did Rockwell say? I'll either be a hero or I'll die either a hero or a fool. So under the same kind of token, that's how I'm looking at it. So, but that's where I'm going. That's everything. My experiences, my learning, my growing, my exploring of self and surrounding is led me to those decisions. Now, you don't agree with it, or anyone doesn't agree with it, more power to you, man. Go do what you think is right. Go do what you think works. Go do what you think's going to win. Do that. I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from. My personal rant channel here. That's it. So, you want to wait for the golden age? Wait for the fucking golden age. I think we manifest. Like, even if time is cyclical, I'm going to treat it like it's not. Or maybe these ages only change through will manifest. So maybe it's time to manifest the will. But as to what you're saying now, okay, Hitler, Napoleon, and Caesar, they had no control. It was just a time. Bullshit. All these people you mentioned completely mastered their will. And this is why. It's nothing had to do with Sulla or anything with Caesar. The Senate tried to strip him of his honors. So guess what? The people already love Caesar because he's sending riches back to them. He took care of the common people. His soldiers loved him because they saw he was a great general and an honorable person. So they even committed blasphemy, crossing the Rubicon, going into civil war without even pay. This is Caesar's will. And when they wanted to walk away, he said, go on, leave, citizens. And they couldn't even do that. That was his will. Hitler completely manifested his will to create the party and be the force. Put anyone else in his shoes. They weren't doing what he did. That was his will manifest. Same with Napoleon. It was a military coup in the name of Napoleon. There was no other generals doing what he did. It took these individuals mastering of their will. It was will manifest. It wasn't at the times. And to say, well, yeah, things were going bad. Only when things are going bad can change happen. No one's going to want a complete change in political direction when everything's great. So we are in why America. The only aspect, like our cultural decline is happening, our traditional decline is happening, our ethic decline is happening, our even biological decline is happening. The only thing that separates us from the Weimar Republic is our material. Our material is good right now. Everyone's comfortable and everyone's got money and we got all these gadgets and look at all the nice shit behind me and all this stuff. Our material is good. So That's, kind of a hard shell to crack with most people, because comfort is so much a part of their desires that to shake that comfort when they're comfortable, yeah, I get it. It's hard. So, but thankfully, the left is doing a good job of forcing them to take harder looks at what's going on in the world, and harder looks at what our future is going to look like. So that's going for us too. But yeah, of course, it always takes, dare I quote fucking Littlefinger here from Game of Thrones, but chaos is a ladder, right? It always takes these hard times to get change going. But it's not the times, it's the will manifest. Because there's been plenty of hard times where nothing great has come of it, or nothing new has come of it. So yeah, it's will manifest. That's where we would disagree. That's why I don't like the whole cyclical time thing. And I understand why people believe that. It's man's eternal story has been the Tower of Babel, has been Icarus flying too close to the sun. It's always man reaches this height and then boom, we crash and burn. Greece, boom, or Egypt, Syrian Empire, the Persian Empire, Greece, Rome, boom, 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 British Empire, it always comes and then crashes and burns. So I could see why, like, oh yeah, it's all cyclical, bro. That's it. We're caught in a cycle. If we're caught in a fucking cycle, then what the fuck is the point? That's fucking nihilism as far as I'm concerned. What the fuck is the point if we're just hamsters on a fucking wheel and we're gonna go through all these transitions over and over and over again? Ugh, no, I'm not trying to hear that. So, and like I said, even if that is the reality, I'm going to live it like it's not. I'm going to live it like will manifests. And I truly believe will manifests. So I think that would be our difference there. But with all that said, like I said, whatever path any of you guys want to take and want to be proactive in, go take it. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. And my mind's not changing. Like I said, I'm well established in why and what I believe in. And none of that's changing at all. Now, and that's where I feel is right. But once again, I'm not going to spend too much time trying to convince other powerless people like myself who are looking for alternative politics which way to go. I'm more convinced with trying to get the people that are supporting this system still to realize they need to change their ideals. So yeah. And then you finish off, you're saying, well, of course, the same thing. How are you going to get boomers and all this? Like I explained earlier, they're going to have to. And what is your plans with fascist populist movement? I just told you about the three things I see happening, and the two idealistics and the one most likely. It degrades traditional beliefs for the sake of gaining popularity. Well, I'm not a traditionalist like you are, okay? I'm a traditionalist futurist, I guess you'd throw me in. But no, I'm not like that. And sometimes a lot of these traditionalists get lost in the esoteric. And someone had commented underneath one of my videos, and I thought it was hilarious because he was so... I can't find it now. I should have prepped this for this, because it's the same thing, and he was getting lost in these esoteric definitions of things. Of fascism. He was like, because he was saying my fascism was anti-traditionalist, and basically I told him, like, look, good, take all your esoteric definitions, put them in one hand, go down the street, ask that Muslim migrant, because he was from Europe, to shit in your other hand, and tell me which ones hold more weight in reality. And that'll answer your question as far as what I think about all these getting lost in the esoteric. We have a real world to deal with, and there's going to be a lot of pragmatic, realistic, and elbow work put into it to get things moving and done. So, but that's where I'm coming from. Like I said, take your paths, gentlemen. Take your paths, and be proactive in it. And let's not fight each other over it. Let's understand we have different roads, and we're trying to reach. Even if we don't agree with total outcomes, we're trying to all get something much better than what's going on today. And we all know if what continues goes on today, then it's fucking gone. Everything's gone. So, yeah. That's where I'm coming out with that. But I understand and respect. Believe me, I read like 6 or 7 of Evela's books. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I'm not going to get lost in it. Okay, I think the question is answered. Okay, he's talking about the video. Let me get to the question part. With that in mind, it seems like you often try to idealize and embody a kind of tyrannical martyrdom for its strategic risk-taking while abhorring a kind of heroic priestlessness as lofty and larpy, which I'll grant you, but also as ineffective, kind of what we were just speaking about last question, but also as ineffective and weak despite its ability to spread ideas while minimizing risk. My question is, firstly, don't you think that those that affect radical and systematic change can be complementary to work well with one another or to serve two sides of the same coin? Yes. Secondly, how do you reconcile the contradiction between idolizing people like Codriano and Mishima, martyrs, versus people like Nietzsche or Huey Long, a priest or more Palatine-esque tyrant less inclined towards risky political action? Well, first, let me stop right there. I don't see them as contradictions. I mean, wasn't Huey Long murdered because of his politics? Yep, shot to death, Jewish assassin, yep. And as far as I'm concerned, Nietzsche sacrificed himself in his works. So I even view them underneath the martyr's light in a sense. So I don't see too much contradiction between those. But at the same time, even if they were contradictions, I see no problem with that as well. You could see, I guess it was with most things. Why would I read Lenin? Oh, because there's a lot of good in there, right? So why would I read Ayn Rand? There's not a lot of good in there, but it's to know my enemy, right? So to appreciate where that's coming from. So you could, even if there was contradictions, you could justify that just through improving yourself and understanding things better and taking what's good from people, even if they're bad people or weak people or, whatever. So I don't see them, I see them all as martyrs in a sense. Second, even if there were contradictions, I see no problem in that as well either. Thirdly, while I concede that you do take risk-taking by exposing yourself on YouTube, don't you feel as though it contrasts with someone like Codriano Mishima that your strategy is more inclined towards a priestly and populist method, not different than a lot of those you criticize in the alt-right? It's probably worth noting that when I refer to priestly types, I refer to those crafty yet spiritual figures who tend to create ideals which power political movements. When I refer to this type, I think more of a Machiavelli meets Christ than I do in Christ in of as himself, though I agree with Nietzsche that Christ himself has a Machiavellian streak, i.e. he sought out power, particularly over the heart of men. No, I don't, because, I mean, to really deconstruct the people you're bringing up, it's, Mishima loved death, like, do you know what the first thing, and I'm eventually going to do a video on Yukio Mishima's life and time, but you know the first picture he ever masturbated to was the one of Saint Sebastian where he's tied to the tree and they got the arrows in him. So he literally loved death from a very young age. So it's, I don't know, there's a little difference there. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I would say simply because I'm not suicidal or idealistic and naive enough. I've done too much learning of other people's lives and seeing of life to be foolish enough to think some of this petty people don't appreciate martyrdom in this society. We got to understand that we live in a very material. There's people who've burned themselves, self-immolation over numerous ideas. There's someone who drove his fucking plane into the IRS building, right? Who gives a motherfuck? Where do these people live at, right? Most of the order died in jail or old in jail. Who gives a motherfuck? Who gives a fuck? This isn't a society. I'm not going to fucking sacrifice myself for this society that doesn't give a fucking shit. Hell no. Hell no. So yeah, I would say that's suicidal and no one gives a fuck. They don't appreciate that. Now, if I was a Palestinian, living in Palestine, hey, they love their martyrs there. So you got different stories. In the Western world, in cosmopolitanism, capitalism, materialism, they don't give a fuck about that. Oh, look at this dummy who died for a belief. What a fucking dummy he was. We got Call of Duty, bro. What are you doing? So yeah, no, that's... I'm not... 40 years, I'm damn near 40 years old, man. That naive streak left long ago. Maybe you spoke to my 22-year-old, 23-year-old self, and I would be right there with you. But no. The bitterness of reality has already wore in on me, and the actuality of my civilization around me is I'm well aware of it. So, no. That's all suicidal. It's all romantic. We love it. We love the idea of sacrifice. And you say, oh yeah, maybe you can sacrifice yourself more. You're doing a little bit of this. I don't view none of this as sacrifice. I talk about my beliefs. I put stuff out there that's, of course, it's counter against the system, but it's it doesn't take much effort. It doesn't take much effort. So yeah, no, I'm not suicidal. That'll just to wrap that up. And I'm not naive enough to think. Once again, Mishima, you brought up Mishima. Yeah, he split his guts for his nation. What's his nation now? Cosmopolitan. They say, oh, well, it's still like 97% Japanese. Okay, for now. But it's going to affect everyone. The cancer takes over the whole body. It's going to do that if it is not cut out. So, yeah. But yeah, they're still materialist, cosmopolitan. They got all kind of weird shit going on there, too. So, yeah. I hope that answered that. You mentioned that reading Mein Kampf was the turning point for you, but then later you began to deconstruct Hitler from being a messiah down to being another great man. What specifically changed your mind about Hitler? As someone who just finished reading all of Hitler's works, I'm honestly finding it hard to find any flaws in him. I hear you. Also, thinking about the past and how things could have been different is pulling me into a pit of depression. I hear you again. Especially when I look at the situation today and how people would simply write me off as insane. Not to mention the pathetic groups who have now to make up the pathetic groups we have now who make true fascism look like a joke. How can you deal with it? First, I guess how I had to deconstruct him was there was numerous things. A lot of his war decisions I didn't like. A lot of his not a lot of his war decisions I didn't like. The fact that even though he was open for debate up until 1942, like he hardly gave full order, according to his Luftwaffe adjutant in his memoirs at least. Until 1942, he wasn't given direct orders, but he'd be open for debate, but he'd win 90% of those debates. So it was kind of one of those things. I didn't like that. I didn't like that he wasn't willing to. He wanted to make too much of the decisions himself. I didn't like how he put Himmler and Goering in the positions they were in. I don't think these were quality people. I don't think they. Goering was a quality person, but who went into decadency for sure. But he was at least a quality person. He wasn't equipped to be in the positions Hitler put him in. Hitler only did that because friends, loyal, and all this. And Himmler wasn't fucking. Himmler shouldn't have been shit. I don't know how the fuck he worked away into the position he did. But yeah, so he had bad decision making as far as that go. I don't like how he waved his wand of power too much. There was in one of the memoirs there was an instance where some high up Nazi's wife was mad about something written in the press, and Hitler's like, I'll have that taken right out. I don't like that. I don't like that attitude. So there's just little things like that that I didn't like. A little hard to deal with and all this stuff. I don't like that he was getting liquid cocaine dropped into his eyes. I don't like that. I don't like that. Sometimes he looked the other way on some people's Jewishness. And then I don't like how the Night of the Long Knives went down. And then, his complacency with some of it, even if he didn't order all of it. Yeah, so things like that. Things like that kind of deconstructed him a little bit with me. And like I said, it's when I put up the list of top 5 great men, he's in that list. So I mean, yeah, he stopped being a Jesus to me and a great man. But so yeah, those are the things. I get it. Someone might say, "Oh, this is petty. You're splitting hairs, whatever." This is just how I deconstructed him. And as far as the state of the world today, yes. You know what you do, brother? Work on yourself, improve yourself, start putting some kind of information out there, build yourself to run for politics. Start doing that. You're right. There are no groups out there. There's no good representatives of fascism. So let's become them. Let's do that, right? That's what we do. That's how you fight that. Don't fucking get depressed. Don't be depressed on your death. While you're dead. Who gives a fuck? Right now, all we can do is fight. So you have to have that fight within you. Build yourself up. Improve yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. Build yourself to meet like-minded people and to eventually start running for positions. That's it. That's all we can do right now. That's where we're at. So that's what a fascist can do. What can a fascist do? Video, right? Same thing. Nothing's changed. I understand why you're depressed. I understand, like I said, fighting off the trend to go to being a full misanthropic fucking black pilled person is hard, man. It's hard, but you have to, man. That's defeat. That is defeat. And I'd rather die fucking teeth clenched, eyes glaring, fucking bald fist, and then die in despair. So we have to go, move forward, build ourselves up, continue, and put the best effort we can. I get a lot of people asking me always, make this video, make this video, make this video. And I do, some of the requests, I do make the videos. But most of the times I just want to say, you make the video, motherfucker. You do it. Go read on this, educate yourself, and then educate some other people on it too. So we have all kinds of information being put out there on all these things. You want to learn about something, don't wait till I do a fucking video breakdown about it. Learn about it and produce some materials yourself. You see my video quality? It's not fucking good. Many of you youngsters probably have a lot more capability of making good, presentable images and videos and put the content behind it. Do that. So yeah, that's where we're at, brother. That's what we need to do. Build ourselves up. Have a goal in mind. Make yourself some goals. And don't get crazy with them. Make them realistic and start conquering those goals. And listen, let's have that moment where many third position people are running for political offices. Not as a fascist party, but as independents and Republicans and however else we can get on the ballot. That's how we do that. That's the path we need to take. So that's where we're at, brother. That's where we need to go. And no reason to despair. Okay, what are your thoughts on the Italian Party Association Casa Pound? Wow, everyone sent me that Channel 4 documentary. It looks so good, man. That's if I was an Italian living in Italy, I would be a part of Casa Pound for sure. That would be I don't even think they have the leadership quality, but the party's there. But I shouldn't say they don't have the leadership quality. That's being mean. I haven't seen anything that gets me invigorated about leadership there, but the party itself has fucking definitely got me invigorated. And one of the things I love the most was, like, they had a wall in the Channel 4 documentary. They had the wall where they have all the names up of the martyrs and heroes and all of this. And it reminded me of reading about Caesar, of I think the Anthony Evans book on Caesar, one of them. And he was like, when Caesar was growing up, the Roman youth, typically you had a hallway of your ancestors, bust of your ancestors, and you'd see that. And I remember reading that. It's like, shit, and I created one of those in my house to where now my kids know, their grandfather fought in Vietnam, their great grandfather in World War II, wrong side, but what you gonna do? And all of this, and knowing the history and just putting it out there. It's too many American families don't do that. So it's so anyways, I like that they had names out there, but one of them in Pentecost was Mishima. I was like, oh, I fucking love it. They even got Mishima on there, and they're named after Ezra Pound. They're right up my fucking alley. And Bombazzi's on the wall, and all these great people on the wall. So yeah, that's looking real good. Good on Italians. Lo and behold, Italians doing fascism right. Who would have thunk? So yeah, real happy to see that. Trend's going to keep growing. America needs to catch up. We need to catch up. Third position people, we need to catch up. Okay, who is your favorite fascist leader, and who do you take most inspiration from? Well, two different questions. I'm glad you asked two different questions, because they are. My favorite fascist leader, and I might trigger some people with this, but it's Adolf Hitler. It is. I don't think anyone was more successful and built more. So how can that not be the most favorite? And my most inspirational is Codriano, of course. I think I've gotten into that before too, just because of his passion, and he lived everything for his beliefs and for his politics. I could only hope to emulate half of what his dedication was. So, yeah. And lastly, what are your thoughts on the alt-right and Richard Spencer? Would you ever debate him on his claim that civic nationalism doesn't work? I think the question of what type of nationalism to follow is a big one and is getting the conversation going. Sad that there aren't many big civic nationalist YouTubers to provide counter arguments and challenge people like Spencer or Enoch. My thoughts on the alt-right is Of course, I've gone into like I'm not a big fan of the trolling and all. I don't think it's conducive to good character. But I think the alt right is a young social scene, and as the years go on, it's going to be. I think a lot of fat's going to be cut, and more serious and political minded people are going to be coming out of there. I think a lot of the people in the future running for politics on the right, the hardcore right, whether it be ethno, whether it be fascistic, or nationalistic, whatever, are going to come out of the alt right or alt right. So that's what I think. It's their baby. They're going to grow eventually. They're going to mature, and those that are serious will be there, and those that weren't will LARP and do what they always do. Spencer, I think he's a good politician figure. Got the look, the talk, the dress, all that stuff. I think he's probably going to end up like the David Duke for the millennials and Generation Z, which is good in the stage we're in now. White people need an advocate. And some people would say, well, wish we had a better advocate. But when you look at the other advocates of the other races, I'd say Spencer is head and shoulders above them. So, yeah. As far as debating, I guess that conversation could happen, but to me, it's going to come down more at pragmatism versus idealism. Like, there's not, because usually when I see them, that's why it's like I'm going to have to change civic nationalist to cultural nationalist or something, figure out something, or explain it more in depth. Because usually when I see them arguing with these civic nationalists, it is over the fact that most of these civic nationalists deny race reality. They deny race has anything to do with culture. So when that's an easy fight to win when you're arguing against that. So that's not the position I'm coming from, right? It's maybe I'm even more crazy. I think you can be race realist, speak on the Jewish question, and still promote nationalism. And of course you'll be called anti-Semite, white supremacist, and all this shit. But you just have to stay true to your principles, and I think most people see that. But yeah. So I'm actually, people always, get on Warski or get on this, get on that. I'm more interested in debating with capitalists. I'm more interested in getting into it with individualists, with conservatives, with people who have, like, I guess, larger attraction in the society to their political ideologies than ethno-nationalism or arguing with that. Because I think that's mainly like idealism versus pragmatism as far as I'm concerned, which is open for a conversation, but at the same time, is it the most important conversation to have? I don't think so. They're powerless as a people or as a group, as what they're trying to push forward, and so are fascists. So are even like masculine nationalist type fascist, that kind of ideology. So it's like two powerless ideologies going at each other. I guess it's more better to punch up than punch down or punch to the right or left, as far as I'm concerned. Like even arguing with Antifa, I'd be like, why do I want to argue with a bunch of fucking dumpster dwellers? They have no clout either, even though they get funded by this, that. They still have no political clout. So to me, it makes more sense to argue with the people that have political, or at least that hold the positions of political clout, the same beliefs as what is in political clout, instead of people who are also powerless and who we largely agree on most things. Is just whatever the 20% we disagree on. So. Yeah, but I'm open up for conversations on that, on going into pragmatism versus idealism, and why this can function. And because, I don't know, it's a false, whenever someone says, civic nationalism can't work, nothing has worked in humanity. So it's a false narrative. Like we said earlier, like I said earlier with Icarus and the Tower of Babel, it's been a history. Every time man built anything, it doesn't matter what, nothing has worked. Nothing has lasted the test of time. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of a false narrative when you're saying this can't work, that can't work. Nothing has worked long term, right? Nothing has worked. The longest we have seen it work has been the Roman Empire. And what I'm basing my political beliefs off is it's not identical, but it's themed from the structure the Roman Empire had. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, this damn near an hour, but I got through some good questions here. I'm sorry it ran so long, but I had a lot to knock out on this one. And I've been backed up on these questions. So thank you guys. Until next time, maybe next Saturday we'll do a drunken Q&A after the UFC. Till then, guys, cheers.